What is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today we're going to be looking at the FOOST HD210 trainer. So 4 things to like about this model is number 1, the shoe kind of comes with a little bit of everything, and I think that's really cool. So when you get this model, you get a different sock liner that is a bit more responsive if you want to put this in and do shorter runs in this model or more athletic focused training. And you get these additional inserts, which feel to be like between like 8 and 12-ish millimeters, I would say. So on top of the 5mm heel to toe drop, you can put the inserts in and you'll get like that suedo weightlifting shoe feel with this trainer. The second thing that I like about this model is that they use a neoprene on the internal portion of the shoe. This gives the shoe a very like locked down and snug feeling. So if you're training in them, if you're wearing them like I do for pickleball too, outside of your lifting sessions, the shoe feels very snug, feels very secure, and it almost feels like a sock on the foot. I really like the neoprene in this shoe. The third thing that I like about this model is just the overall upper construction. I noticed that it's really good at abrasion resistance. So if you are rope climbing a lot, you're gonna have a nice medial wrap here on the lateral medial side with the outsole, but you'll also have an upper that's not gonna break down super fast. So I do like that about the upper shell of this shoe. I think it's gonna be a really good model when it comes to overall durability of this upper shell. The fourth thing that I like is just the overall maneuverability of the outsole. So we have a fully rubber outsole here. We do have a heel plate back here for additional stability and for handstand push-ups, but this outsole moves really well. Now, I'm not exactly sold on its overall long-term durability, which we'll talk about in the next section, but as a whole and like right out of the box and as just general training in the shoe, this model gives you a lot of ground feedback, gives you a lot of grip, and overall, I really do like how much responsiveness you get with the outsole in this shoe. So despite liking this model as a whole, there are a couple of cons that I think you should know before investing. The first is that I do think there are some areas on the shoe that could be improved when it comes to durability. So for starters, right out of the box, with the branding up here on the neoprene, this peeled off pretty quickly. Like I can literally just peel that part off. And on this shoe, it's fully gone. So after like just a week of wear, I lost out on that FOOST branding. Really not the biggest deal. It's more of an aesthetic thing, but it is something where it's like, okay, that wore off really fast. Another area where I do worry about the long-term durability of the shoe is the outsole. So as a whole, I like how this outsole feels, but if you're training outside a lot on concrete, I would say be very conscious of the overall toe construction up here. I'm already having a little bit of wear up here after wearing these for pickleball a lot. So I've worn these for pickleball probably for like a total of like 8-ish to 10-ish hours, and I'm already starting to see like this rubber up here kind of fade. So if you're using these in the gym, I don't think you're gonna have to worry about that, but if you're like myself and you plan to use these for other activities and train outside, then you may want to be concerned with the overall long-term outsole durability of this shoe. The second thing that I could see bothering some folks is that if you have a wider or flatter foot, this model will likely feel a little tight on you. To be quite honest, if I wear thicker socks, like it feels a little bit limiting and tight on me. They feel fine for just a workout, but when I wear them all day, they do feel pretty tight, especially up here in the toe box and midfoot. And that's because I think that neoprene construction helps lock down that foot so well that it doesn't really give you a ton of room to like splay the toes and really have a bunch of room up in the toe box. So that being said, if you do have a wider or flatter foot, that is something that you should be concerned with, and you might want to size up a half size in this model just to be safe when it comes to the overall sizing. Once again though, I do like the shoe as a whole, but I could see some improvements being needed for future iterations when it comes to long-term durability. So when it comes to the performance in the FOOST HD210 trainers, we're gonna break this section into a few different parts. I'm gonna talk about lifting, more versatile training, shorter runs, and daily wear. So in the context of lifting, this model is overall very stable, and I don't think a lot of folks are gonna have issues with stability whatsoever. To be quite honest, the shoe gives me like a Nike Metcon 5 vibe in a really good way in regard to like the overall stability that they provide in the weight room. So whether you wanna switch out the insoles or even just use the inserts to give yourself a higher heel position, overall the midsole and outsole should provide you with enough stability to tackle even your heavier lifts. I like how maneuverable the outsole is as well. In the toe box here, you can really get up on the toes. They don't take a long time to break in. And overall, I do like that nice snug feeling that they provide. And I actually think that that feeds pretty well into providing like that nice proprioceptive feeling that you get with the ground in this shoe. When it comes to versatile training, I also really like this model too, and for 2 key reasons. Number 1 is that I do like how the outsole grips and feels when you are jumping, when you are cutting, when you are going laterally. So I do think you get a lot of feedback from this model. And then number 2, I like how that neoprene really locks down that foot. So I do mention that it is a bit tight at times, but if you're just putting these on for like an hour long hour and a half long session and it's more athletic focused, I don't think that tightness is going to probably bother you that much. Plus, you can always manipulate your sock wear to help with that overall snugness that you're going to get in the toes. So for versatile training, I like this model. It's lightweight, you get a lot of feedback, and overall it fits really snug on the foot. So when it comes to shorter runs, this model will work. However, if you're trying to do distance, opt for a running shoe or a shoe that's a bit more dialed in for that activity. But if you do have, like, let's say a WOD and you have some running programmed in there, what you can easily do is swap in this insert before you start that session, and you'll get a slightly more responsive and comfortable ride for that workout. So I do think that's a plus here. And when it comes to length, I would say anywhere from like 800 meters to a mile would probably be where I would stop myself on the longer end for my runs, just because this model is stable. And even with this insert, you're not gonna have the most comfortable ride. This does help for like WOD focused runs that are a bit shorter in nature, but definitely if you're gonna do distance, look for a more running focused shoe. On a daily wear basis, I would actually say probably skip on this model and try to save them just for your gym sessions. It's gonna help them last longer. Plus, I mentioned earlier that the toe box can feel a bit snug for all day wear. So if you do plan to wear them all day, make sure you're wearing socks that are a bit thinner in nature. That way this toe box doesn't feel too snug on you. But again though, with the outsole durability here, I would just say probably limit your overall outdoor wear with them if you can. It should make them last longer and you'll get more out of the shoe, because with outdoor elements, when it comes to like water, dirt, etc., that can break down shoes a little bit quicker. So if you want to hedge your bets, I would just say limit your daily wear with them, or just like use them only a couple times a week, just not as a all the time daily driver. But that all being said, for lifting, I like this model. For versatile training, it does really well. And then for shorter runs, it is a little bit better than other stable cross trainers on the market. And for daily wear, they're a hit or miss depending on what you want out of this shoe. All right, so now let's answer the question, is this model worth it? I think if you are somebody who plans to just use this shoe in your gym sessions and you don't plan to wear them on a day-to-day basis or train outdoors in them, then they are worth it. With the additional insole and insert that you get with this shoe, you do get a slightly more dynamic model than other stable cross trainers out there. So I do think they are worth it. However, if you plan to use these on a day-to-day basis or train outdoors a lot, then you might want to be a bit more concerned with the overall durability. But for my folks who plan to just use these in gym, then I think they're a solid model and they're worth it. So when it comes to sizing and fit in this model, I think if you wear thinner socks, then you should be safe going true to size. However, I did mention in the cons that if I wear thicker socks, this model does feel pretty tight up in the toe box after like a couple hours of wear. And I think if you have a flatter or wider foot, you may want to go up a half size just to ensure you have enough room. Since we have that neoprene construction with this like outer shell that doesn't have a ton of stretch to it, I don't want you to feel like you're super cramped in the toe box. But for most lifters and athletes, true to size is a pretty safe call. I would just say be conscious of, if you're going to wear them all day, to not wear the thickest socks and run into the issue like I did where your toes are starting to scream at you after like 5 hours of wear. So when it comes to price in this model, you can expect to pay $125 USD. Personally, I do think that's pretty fair for what this model offers. You get additional insoles for tackling different styles of workout, and you get these inserts for making almost like a suedo lifting shoe with this model in case you don't want to invest in a weightlifting shoe. So overall, I do think that price point is fair, especially if you're training inside. Do note though, if you're training outside a lot on concrete and asphalt, then I would definitely be a little bit more conscious of the durability issues I mentioned in the con section. But if you are primarily using these for just in-gym sessions and just for your sessions each week, and you're not necessarily wearing them on a day-to-day basis too, then I do think the price point is worth it. And I do think the durability will last you longer. So when it comes to the weight, heel to toe drop, and the insole in this model, for my size 10 shoe here, we have a weight of 11.4 ounces. If we put one of these inserts in, that brings up the weight to 12.9. This model has a 5mm heel to toe drop in the standard insole, and the insole is removable once again, and you get a separate insole that comes along with this shoe that has a slightly more like padded / responsive feel to it for running and athletic focused training. All right, so now let's break down the construction of the FOOST HD210 trainer. So up here on the toe box, we have an extended outsole layer that wraps up. It's a bit thicker in nature, which I personally love for overall durability. And then we have this 3D monofilament upper throughout. As you can see, it's like pretty abrasion resistant, and as a whole, it doesn't have a ton of stretch to it, which is also why I think this model can feel a little bit tight at times. On the internal portion of the shoe, we have a neoprene, so there is no separate tongue in this model, and it can be kind of a pain to put on at times due to this, but we're not gonna have a separate tongue. This has like almost like an overlay that comes in and over your foot here, and as a whole, I do like the structure of the shoe. It's a little bit different than your normal like tongue shoe or just booty style shoe, so as a whole, just note that it is gonna feel slightly different, but I didn't notice any issues with like this neoprene folding down as a whole. Throughout the midfoot here, we have 5 eyelets that run up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And overall, there's not a ton of overlap with these. So even if you tie them super tight like I did down here, you're not gonna get overlap in them. So I personally love that, just to help keep that midfoot security and lockdown feeling consistent. Making our way back here to the heel, we have some FOOST branding that runs up, and we have this TPU heel plate back here to assist with handstand push-ups, and you can see that through the heel portion right here. Then on the outsole, we have a fully rubber tread. What I would say though is, once again, if you're planning to train outside, just be conscious of the overall durability of this outsole. It may break down a little bit quicker if you're training outdoors and you're having a lot of scuffing on concrete. On the lateral and medial side, we have a midfoot wrap here. It almost reminds me of like the Nike Metcon models, how they have that outsole that wraps up to assist with rope climbs. And then we have a double density EVA foam midsole throughout. So as you can see, not a ton of compression, but there is a little bit of responsiveness in this shoe, which I think actually helps feed into this model's overall fit and performance in the gym. But overall, those are the main construction features that I think are worth mentioning for this shoe. If you have any additional questions, hit me in the comments below and I will answer whatever you have. All right guys, that wraps up my review of the FOOST HD210 Trainer. Overall, I like this model, and I'm really stoked to see what FOOST does with future iterations in the shoe to improve the durability and overall performance of this model. If you have any questions on this shoe, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always guys, drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next one.